Well, you could believe Mr. Pecker.
My name is Peck.
Or you could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Enough! I get the point.
What if you're wrong?
If I'm wrong, nothing happens. We go to jail, peacefully, quietly. We'll enjoy it. But if I'm right, and we can stop this thing, Lenny, you will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters.
I don't believe you're seriously considering listening to these men.
Get him out of here.
Bye.
I'll fix you, Venkman. I'm gonna fix you.
I'm gonna get you a nice fruit basket. I'm gonna miss him.
All right.
We got work to do. Now, what do you need from me?
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are talking about the 1984 comedy, fantasy, maybe sci-fi-ish. I'm not really sure anything about it. Like absolute blockbuster classic. You know it. I know it. Nick knows it. Everybody knows it and loves it. Ghostbusters. Love this movie. Cannot wait to talk about this movie. This was my pick for our Two Dads, Two Decades run for 1984.
Yeah.
And I just to get into it, like I kind of mentioned at the end of last week's episode, like this for a long time of my life, this was my favorite movie of all time. I have watched this movie. I'm not exaggerating. It has been, I have seen it well over 100 times. There were points in my life where I was watching this movie on a weekly basis.
Nice.
Through high school, into college, you know, even before that to some extent. But yeah, I love this movie. I love Ghostbusters 2 as well. A lot of people who loved Ghostbusters were not fans of the sequel. I love them both. I have not seen the more recent ones, the Paul Rudd stuff and whatever. I haven't seen any of that. So I don't know if it's good or not, but like these two originally Ghostbusters movies, I'm just a
original
huge fan.
cast.
Yeah, the original cast, the original time frame, all the 80s, the 80s kind of thing. Absolutely adore these movies. Cannot wait to get into this with you, Nick. So what's your experience and kind of history with Ghostbusters?
Yeah, so I definitely saw this when I was younger, but as a no VCR, no cable guy, I didn't see it for a long time after this. So I liked it, but I wasn't like really into it. And I think probably rediscovered it around high school when we're passing tapes around and quoting stuff back and forth and everything, and watched it a handful of times. So I've seen it over the years a bunch, but I always had a fondness for the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty bulletproof as far as the cast and like just everything involved. So really looking forward to talking about this one.
Yeah, this is one that we had in my house. We had a LaserDisc player. I've mentioned it a few times before we even had VCRs in the house. And this was definitely a LaserDisc that we had.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I think I probably was taken to the theater to see this. It's PG, would have been 4 years old. Same year I saw Gremlins, so it's like not that crazy. And, if not in the theater, would have been shortly after my dad would have gotten the LaserDisc. And that's when I started watching it constantly. Because, there's definitely scary elements, but it is a pretty solid PG. This could have been a PG-13, depending on how it played out time-wise. I don't remember exactly when the first PG-13 movie was released, but this would have been on the borderline, just because of the sort of visual
It's a harder
terror.
PG than our previous movie, Strange Brew.
Fair, for sure. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I said, hundreds of times I like I mentioned at the end of the last episode, I still have the autographed photo of Ramis, Aykroyd, and Murray in their Ghostbusters outfits autographed hanging on my wall. So
that's so awesome.
Big fan. All right, let's jump into the facts on Ghostbusters.
Yes,
there's a lot of good stuff in here. All right, the movie Ghostbusters was released on June 8th, 1984 with a PG rating and a running time of 105 minutes. It was directed by Ivan Reitman, written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, and starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Sigourney Weaver. Scores really high scores, a 95% fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Wow.
critics with almost nothing bad to say about it. That would make it the fourth highest Rotten Tomatoes score we've seen on our podcast. Airplane earned a 97. Both The Fugitive and This Is Spinal Tap got 96.
Okay.
And so right up there with them is Ghostbusters. On IMDb, a 7.8, very respectable score.
Really strong.
When you get up over 8.0, you're in the top 100 total movies at all on IMDb at that point, pretty much. So very high score for Ghostbusters. And the critics Siskel and Ebert, a pair of thumbs ups. Thank you, boys. On the awards tip, lots of nominations. One pretty significant win to mention at the 1985 Saturn Awards. It did win Best Fantasy Film.
Okay.
And then a series of like high profile nominations, but not wins. 2 nominations at the 1985 Academy Awards for Best Song for the Ghostbusters theme song for Ray Parker Jr. and for Best Visual Effects. Didn't win either of those. And at the Golden Globes, a bunch of nominations actually for Best Comedy Picture. Bill Murray was nominated for Best Lead Actor in a Comedy, and Ray Parker Jr. also got nominated for Best Original Song. And then the Grammys actually nominated the Best Original Score Album. This album here. On a budget of $30 million, which, man, 1984.
Big budget.
Big budget. Although it shows up on the screen. Some of these effects still look real good. We'll get into the details, but
Very smart with how they did them.
really great
Yep.
stuff. And so $30 million budget pulled in $296 million at the box office in 1984. That is just shy of 10 times what it cost to make. So
Crazy.
a massive blockbuster hit. And we got a little kind of extra fact on this one. I want to throw this in there. So in 1984, Huey Lewis sued Ray Parker Jr., claiming that the Ghostbusters theme song plagiarized the Huey Lewis and the News song, I Want a New Drug, which was released the year before. And if you listen to I Want a New Drug, it's pretty unmistakable. Like the melody and the bass line are like basically exactly note for note between the two songs. It's very close.
Who are you going to call? Your drug dealer.
Right. Yeah. They settled out of court almost 10 years later in 1995. They finally settled it. The settlement, though, included a confidentiality agreement. And then later on, after a 2001 VH1 Behind the Music interview in which Huey Lewis discussed details of the settlement, Parker sued Lewis and won, apparently for a total of $30,000. But Parker did successfully sue Huey Lewis for breaking the confidentiality agreement that they originally had in their settlement. Now, this is the interesting part, I thought. In a 2004 interview, Ivan Reitman admitted that I Want a New Drug was used as a temporary track in some scenes just to put a music bed on it. They just literally randomly picked, it was never going to be in the movie, whatever.
Yeah.
They did ask, they offered the theme song rights, like come make our theme song for this movie to Huey Lewis and the News, and the band passed. Supposedly, when the early scenes were given to Ray Parker to give him what the vibe of the movie is so that he could write the theme song, I Want a New Drug was still in the background of those scenes.
So he just like had it in his
when
head.
Parker first saw scenes of Ghostbusters, I Want a New Drug was playing in the background of those scenes. So he may not have intentionally done it, but the idea that he definitely was inspired by the Huey Lewis News song, unmistakably true, like for sure.
Oh my
so
God.
very interesting stuff kind of all came about.
So he had it like subliminally planted in his brain.
I guess something like that. Not even all that subliminal. It was just there in the music. And then when he went to go write his song, it was kind of there. It's entirely possible that at the time, Parker had no idea that that was a popular song. He may not have been familiar with Huey Lewis and the News' music or with that song in particular, and thought, oh, this is part of a score they're doing. I'll make sure to utilize that element of the score in my song. That's entirely possible. That's still plagiarism, but it's certainly, paints Parker in a better light, I guess, right?
Totally.
Less of a thief, more of a victim of circumstance. So,
well, I mean, and this was all borne out by history because Ray Parker had a million hits after this, so his career would be fine without the Ghostbusters theme.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that stuff. Every time we're talking Parker and Lewis, we can't lose.
Hey, boom, boom, love it. Good call. It's actually funny too. Huey Lewis is like one of the very first concerts I ever went to with my parents was a Huey Lewis and the News show. When I was like in high school or whatever. They were huge Huey Lewis fans. So yeah, we had a lot of, I grew up with a lot of those songs, Hip to Be Square and Power of Love and I Want a New Drug. So yeah, funny stuff.
I started a cover band during COVID that allowed people to come to the concert if they hadn't been vaccinated. It was called Huey Lewis and the Fake News.
Oh, rock on. Don't
Huey
leave
Lewis
us comments,
and the Fox
people.
News.
Oh, that's even better.
Oh, shit.
Don't leave us comments on Spotify about that, people. He's joking. Get a sense of humor. Okay, let's kick off this movie. We do get a cold
Yes.
open. Love a cold open. We get one here. Just scanning down on the New York Public Library. A very beautiful building. Big lion statues out front. I'm assuming this is the real New York.
I love where
Public
it shows
Library.
up. It shows up in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
I always like
exactly.
to see it.
And so we are following a librarian. She's taking a stack of books towards, like the whatever. She kind of goes down into like the basement, I guess, basically. And it looks like she's trying to put books away. But as she goes by, a bunch of books behind her kind of float from one shelf across the walkway to the other. And, I'll be honest, I didn't see a string. Like they did a good job, whatever
Yeah,
they're doing to hide
totally.
it. They did good. She walks a little farther past those old card catalogs. You remember looking for books in like the school library and those card catalog things? Insane. So glad it's computerized now, but like trying to track the Dewey Decimal
But
System
I
and all
felt
that.
hella
like,
good knowing that. Like
That's true.
it was like a skill you felt accomplished. Yeah. And then 10 years later, it's irrelevant.
completely irrelevant. But as she's walking by, a bunch of the drawers from the card catalog start opening, and these cards start flying up into the air. And this is one of the reasons I think the visual effects in this movie are so good. I want to start with this very opening scene. There's a lot of elements in this movie that are imposed upon the scene, visual elements, the ghosts, different things, like whatever. But there's so much practical effects going on.
Yeah.
There's so many practical effects and things where clearly these card catalog things were built in a way to launch these cards up, right, for the production of the film. They were very and they're probably made completely from scratch. These are probably completely made up for the movie, and they're really cool, and they give this amazing effect of this raining little paper cards. They fly up fast and then they sort of fall down slow, and it looks amazing.
And the sound was great.
Yeah,
of them
little
flipping
flicking
up.
noise.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Of course, the librarian freaks out and just starts hauling her ass through the different stacks of books. And she's running, and we're just getting the tense music and stuff. And then she turns a corner, and while we're still looking at her face, her face lights up. Wind is clearly blowing at her, and she screams bloody murder. And then we get the title card. So this is the cold open to Ghostbusters.
Great. Really good. Great logo.
Yes.
And
classic logo.
Ray Parker, whether, it was all original thought or not, one of the best movie theme songs of all
100%.
time. I mean, the best,
Probably.
And it really beefs up those weak ass Halloween playlists where you have like no Halloween songs to put on a playlist.
I feel like
it really helps
I feel like
out.
this, Monster Mash, and Werewolves of London. That's your starting point for every
sure.
single Halloween.
Get a little Oingo Boingo Dead Man's Party.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we're rounding this thing out.
Exactly. But yeah, exactly. Like the whole Huey Lewis, Parker, whatever thing aside, this song's an absolute banger.
Yeah.
An absolute slap. Like the Ghostbusters theme song is amazing, and it ages perfectly.
And it
sounds just as
hammers
good.
the title of the movie home so well.
Oh my
until
God.
like where it doesn't feel I don't know. It's just really great.
It feels like the perfect blending of commerce and art. Like it does its job as the harbinger of the film, and it's also a banger song. You know, and it's like absolutely good stuff.
So now we're kind of with Bill Murray here, who's some kind of psychology professor.
He has degrees in parapsychology and psychology.
Okay. And he's doing this ESP testing to a couple of volunteer students, one kind of, dorky looking dude and one very attractive
pretty
female.
blonde,
And we find out pretty soon that he's asking him what's on this card. There's an image or some kind of symbol shape on there. And, if you guess wrong, I'm going to shock you.
Right.
And this guy keeps getting it wrong. He's shocking him.
Yes.
The woman's guessing it wrong, and he's saying, "Oh my God, that's correct." So he's like flirting with her. It's really good, Bill Murray.
It is absolutely fantastic. And he is showing the guy that you're wrong, right? So like he's holding up like a star, and the guy says like square, and he turns, it's like, no, it's a star, right? And like the next one's a square, and he goes, oh, it's a circle, and he turns and he goes, oh, close, but definitely wrong. Like, that's not a circle. So he's shocking, but every time the woman is guessing incorrectly, he doesn't show either of them that card. He just puts it down, right? Because she's wrong, but he doesn't want to shock her until the guy's getting frustrated. And then finally he's chewing gum and he's getting all frustrated. And Murray, Peter Venkman goes, okay, what about this one? And he goes, I don't know, it's a couple of wavy lines. And sure enough, it's like 3 wavy lines. And he doesn't show them. And he puts it and goes, today is just not your day.
It's the best guess too, because everything else like star, square, circle, and then a couple of wavy lines for that to be the thing that he says.
It's so funny.
Is really great. And the guy storms off. He's like, forget it. I'm done with this.
You keep the $5.
Did you ever in college do any of those psych experiments? They always offered those. I did a couple of them where they give you like $10 or $15 to I don't know why.
I was far too busy playing EverQuest and not getting laid to do that. So yeah.
I was super busy not getting laid too, but I managed. It was always fun to show up for that stuff because you didn't quite know what was going on even when you left. But hey, that $10.
There you go. That gets you back. I mean, when I was in Chico in 2002, that would have bought a lot of beer. So,
so Ray and Egon now have gotten the news basically of the library incident.
Yes.
And they come in to tell.
Ray busts in. He goes up with him, but Ray busts in and Venkman's like been trying to kind of close with this student. He wants to date her. And
he's so pissed. And
he's so mad.
And it's this incredible breakthrough in this very specialized field that the three of them are incredibly interested in. And all he can think about is, you fucked this up for me. He does such a funny jump slap where he's like, I'm right in the middle of something, Ray, and jumps and slaps him at the same time. His physicality is really
is.
nice.
This movie is I think, especially for Murray and Aykroyd, is like peak for the two of them. It really is just they are firing on all cylinders in their particular motifs. Like the way they are funny, they are doing it perfectly in this. Ramis is great too, but like I always thought Ramis was better as a writer and a director than as an actor. But this is like Murray and Aykroyd killing it in this movie, and it starts off right from the beginning. Sure enough, it's like, so they go to the library. They go and Egon's already there, whatever. And I love because where they walk in and Ray goes, basically Venkman is the skeptic-ish of the group, right? So there's Egon Spengler, Harold Ramis, and Ray Stantz, Dan Aykroyd, and they are true believers. They believe that, they can touch the etheric plane and whatever, they believe in this kind of stuff. And it feels like Venkman is like, yeah, okay, I'll go along. Like he's not a doubter per se, but he's like he's a little skeptic, right? Because Ray is telling him, he's like, Peter, you forget I was present for an underwater mass sponge migration. And he goes, oh, Ray, the sponge has migrated about 1.5 feet. And it's just like funny little dismissive kind of stuff. But basically they meet up with Egon and they're chatting with kind of like maybe like the head librarian or the manager of the library. And he's like, oh, the woman, who's over here, you can talk to her. And so they're sitting down and they're talking to the poor librarian who got scared, witless or whatever. And Venkman's asking her some questions, and one of the first ones he asks is, has anyone in your family ever been, declared mentally incompetent or whatever? And she goes, well, my uncle thought he was St. Jerome. He goes, I'd call that a big yes. And then I love to, they finish this off with, and are you, Alice, menstruating right now? And the manager guy goes, what's that got to do with it? And Venkman just goes, back off, man. I'm a scientist. And like those, for some reason, those two lines, I call that a big yes, and back off, man, I'm a scientist. Like they've stuck with me for my life.
His so arrogance. It is funny about his kind of arrogance about his position as a scientist in a field that most people dismiss as even being a real thing.
It's not even parapsychology. What? Like,
so they go downstairs to
go
where the woman had the encounter there, and we see that the cards are all slimed now.
Right.
It's become the GUI decimal system.
Hey.
And they encounter an apparition. They call it a full torso apparition.
Yes.
One thing that Aykroyd does better than anyone is just fast talking, big words, like ultra technical stuff, which is maybe why Ramis doesn't shine as much in this, because he's kind of the same function in a little bit of a way.
There is an element, so Aykroyd and Ramis wrote this story together, but there is an element where the Ray Stantz and Egon Spengler characters occupy a similar position within the dynamic, right? Like Venkman is his own thing,
right,
for sure. And later on in the movie, Winston Zeddemore has to come in as the outsider and he brings a different perspective. But in a lot of ways, Egon's just an even nerdier Ray, like in a lot of ways, so there's an element of that. And again, Ramis is a great guy, rest in peace, like whatever, fantastic, was never the actor that either Aykroyd or Murray are, or have been. So there's an element of that. But yeah, basically like they see this, they call it like a free floating
full torso apparition.
There you go. And so then Venkman's like, so what do we do? What do we do? And they're both just like, and like Egon starts typing something on his calculator. Stop that. and then it's like, he's like, well, so one of us should probably talk to it, and they both look at Venkman because he's clearly like, with among humans anyway, the communicator of the group, right? He's the least nerdy.
Yep.
So it shows, I love
he's
that he
the River
asks,
Phoenix.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. But I love that he asks, where are you from originally? Because I love that line because it's one of the lines in this movie that I thought was funny as a kid, and I realized is more funny than I thought it was as an adult. Because as a kid, I picked up on the idea that like, well, this is a dead creature, whatever, like a ghost, so they're from the other side, but he's asking like, where were you from when you were alive?
Yeah.
But it's also just a very common line, especially if you live in a big city like New York or LA or San Francisco, when you're hitting somebody up at the bar or something or at a club to ask where you're from originally. It's like a totally normal thing. And it's like very dating coded, right? And that's the element of the joke that I didn't get as a kid, but like it's extra layer.
And his approach to every female that he interacts with in this entire movie is like that.
Is like that, exactly.
Aside from Janine, who we meet.
That's true, later. Actually. That's a good point.
So he's trying to approach, and she turns to him and shushes him, librarian ghost.
That's right.
And then their big solution is, get her.
Yeah, Ray's like, I've got an idea. Follow me. Stay close, and then get her. And then we get the same kind of, it's clearly the ghost turns into this really scary looking thing and kind of comes at them. And it's clearly what happened to Librarian, because the same wind and light and everything. And they all three of them just freak out and run, out. And I love it too.
Great music during this scene.
Oh, the whole
Very
score.
memorable.
Like the Ray Parker song is fantastic, but the whole score is good. Like really the music throughout this movie is really, really solid. And the manager of the library or whatever is like following them out. Like, what was it? Did you see it? It's like, oh, we'll get back to you. Like they have no idea what to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But on their walk back to the NYU offices, they're chatting, and Egon's been doing some calculations, and he says like, hey, if these calculations are correct, like I think we, the idea we could hold, capture and hold one of these things indefinitely, it would be possible. And then Ray's like, oh, if the ionization rate is constant, we could really bust some heads in a spiritual sense, of course. But like I said, it's one of those points where he's quickly telling us really scientific sounding words, and it just sounds, you just go, yeah, okay, of course, if the ionization rate is constant, or yeah, of course, yeah.
He has the correct confidence that even if he's playing someone who's all the way full of shit, he could pull that off.
He's like the mental version of walking into a place with a clipboard and just being there, like
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so they get back to the university that they work at, and all their stuff is being boxed up.
Right.
And they're told that their funding is cut, their grant is suspended, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So they're out of work. They're kind of the funny scene of them talking about, I like academia. You don't have to produce anything.
Exactly.
You're out in the real world. You have to actually do something.
Exactly. And Ray mentions that he's worked in the private sector, and they expect results.
Yeah.
And Venkman's got this little sing-song thing he does that is another thing that just stuck with me for my whole life. And I find myself like saying, for some reason, if I ever hear someone say the words "for whatever reason," if that phrase comes out of somebody's mouth, just for whatever reason, in my head, I hear, for whatever reason, Ray, call it fate, call it luck, call it karma. I believe we were destined to be thrown out of this dump. And it's just like, that has stuck with me forever. And it's this little thing, but they basically decide like, let's go into business for ourselves. Like this is, we've got this whole thing, this whole concept of capturing a ghost, and like, this will be something we can do. Mm-hmm. But Ray's got a concern. He's like, hey, this is going to take a ton of money to like build all this stuff. Like we know how to do it. Like, I think the idea here is like, hey, we feel like we know what we need to do.
Right.
But to actually do it, it's going to take a ton of money. Where are we going to get the money? And then it's a hard cut to them coming out of like First Manhattan
with
Bank.
Ray all upset. And he's like, my parents left me that house. I grew up in that house, So he's taking out a loan, and
a third loan, apparently. Third mortgage
that they say is at 19% interest. And they said, in years 1 through 5, that's $95,000 of interest. So $100,000 loan that he took out.
Wow.
And
that's very expensive.
Gets you a nice piece of property though in New York.
Well, I don't know about nice, because the next cut is they're looking at this firehouse. We're not sure exactly what part of Manhattan they're in. But apparently not.
But it's busted, and this is like cheap New York days.
Yes,
this isn't like 2000 to 2015
pre-Giuliani, like whatever.
Yeah. This was like, there are very shitty areas of New York that are near,
even of Manhattan, like which now is like all pretty much not super shitty, I guess. I don't know, but like it. I think later on we hear them talk about how we do things downtown when they're clearly in Central Park West. So I feel like it's just downtown somewhere is where their firehouse is. But Egon is not impressed with this place.
No.
He is like, this is not,
because it needs a ton of work. I mean, it's very far from ideal. It's not a turnkey property in any way, but it's Ray's money, and Ray is psyched about it. So they hear Egon and Peter are downstairs with the realtor, kind of like, this sucks. This is terrible. We're gonna have to fix this and this. And then Ray from upstairs, hey, does this pole still work? Yeah, and he slides down the pole. He's like, this is perfect. Hey, we should sleep over here tonight. And he's all excited. I love his enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so then they turn to the realtor, like, okay, we'll take it. And she's like, good. Like she knew, like once Ray was excited, she's like, no, you're good. Yeah. But Egon thinks the building should be condemned. Oh, well. So next thing we cut to is our first view of Dana Barrett, played by Sigourney Weaver. She's coming home. She's taking a cab back to her palatial Central Park West apartment. I don't know what it pays to be a concert, viola player. I don't know what that is.
Was it a cello or viola? Or
I'm not sure
something?
what.
Yeah.
Some large stringed instrument, not a violin, much larger than that, with strings. That's all I know for sure. It's like a cello, I guess, probably. But to be a concert cellist in New York City must pay pretty well because her apartment is big and gorgeous and has a view of the park.
It's nuts.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it seems like Dana probably had some family money or something to make that work.
Although
but,
I don't know, maybe
good for her. I hope being a cellist pays enough for that apartment. They deserve it.
But I also think maybe there was just less care paid to like somebody's profession and what they're living in, because we also meet her neighbor Louis Tully, played by Rick Moranis, who is a CPA. I know one of those. And apparently that pays pretty damn well too, or at least did in New York City at the time, because he's got a gorgeous place as well. Now, he doesn't have a view of the park though. He's on the other side of the hall. So he's looking, downtown or something, or maybe off to the river or something, but he's not looking at the park.
You know what he says? He says, I'm having a party to celebrate my 4th anniversary as an accountant.
4th. That's early, right?
That's early, right?
It's
So I think it's probably one of those things that, no, I've been an accountant for a long time. I've been a CPA but nobody knows what that is. So we just have it say accountant. Like in the movie, The Accountant, the Ben Affleck movie, we're going to go in CPA corner here real quick. He has like a plaque on his desk that has his name and then it just says accountant.
Okay.
Nobody uses that designation.
Okay.
So
It's
it
like,
would say tax preparer or EA or CPA or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that was to make it easy. But yeah, Louis Tully.
Yes.
One of the funniest side characters ever.
Absolutely.
And we love Rick Moranis. We're big Moranis heads here.
And it's so funny because we just watched Strange Brew last week. Which obviously tons of Rick Moranis in that. He's one of the stars of that movie. And his Bob McKenzie voice and the way he holds his mouth when he makes words as Bob McKenzie is only a slightly more exaggerated version of Louis Tully. Louis Tully is like a slightly, let's take Bob McKenzie, pull him back into reality just a bit, but still make him a little goofy, not so much on the hosers, take off like Canadianisms, right? But like when you look at the way he says things and the way he holds his mouth when he talks, it's like very much like Bob McKenzie.
Yeah.
I'd never watched these two movies close together in time from each other. So seeing it this way, I went, oh my God, this is basically like more realistic Bob McKenzie is kind of the Louis Tully character. But he's wonderful. And he, is obviously super enamored with Dana, who she has no
as he should
interest.
be.
Well, she's like 6'1", like gorgeous, and he's this, nerdy little shrinky dink guy.
She's a professional artist.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
all this stuff. And he's,
Yeah. So he invites her to his party later in the week, and she says, "Oh, I'll try to stop by or whatever." She kind of finally gets out of the way, and he mentions, "Oh, you shouldn't leave your TV on." Like her TV got left on, which is strange. She didn't intentionally do that. But she goes in. She's bringing home groceries, so she goes into the kitchen, puts some groceries down, and she's starting to put stuff away. And we get a nice little tight zoom in on a dozen eggs, and the lid of the egg carton pops open. And it's not like the eggs jump out, but it's like the egg shells crack and the interior of the eggs start popping out onto the counter and cooking, which is like, that's not a stovetop. That's just her counter. So she hears it and notices and like turns around, is very, she kind of jumps every time it happens. Like it's obviously kind of terrifying. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then she hears a very deep growl coming from her refrigerator. Gorgeous fridge, by the way, enormous, very wide, very large
for a single person. Once again, and
looks custom
when
built
we get
into
a look
the cabinetry.
inside it later, it is like this is too much stuff in the fridge for you living by yourself.
But she opens up the, or actually, wait, real quick, I should say before she does that, she did see on her television an ad
for the
Ghostbusters ad. They did their first TV ad. We're ready to believe you. The whole thing.
That's a really funny slogan. I do love that because you are fishing for literally anyone. Like we're open to crazy people is basically what they're saying.
Right. Everybody who's going to be a customer of ours has already been told they're crazy by somebody else, right? Like some other exterminator maybe. So she's seen that. That's a little context. But she goes to open the fridge and it isn't a fridge. It's like, there 100 yards of space or something, or 50 yards of space all of a sudden. And this like pyramid with stairs. And there's this, I've always called them the demon dogs. I don't know what else to refer to these things as.
Gargoyle or something.
Yeah, it's like a gargoyle thing, but everybody else kind of talks about it as a dog. I mean, it's referred to as a bear and a I think a cougar as well at some point. But basically it's this, horned dog-ish looking demon thing. and it faces her, and it opens its mouth, and first of all, its mouth is glowing, which I always thought was scary as a kid. That was a very scary thing. And you hear it say the name Zool, Zool, like that whole thing. So
I never picked that up clearly. Even
really?
this time, I mean, I knew what they say because they talk about it later in the movie, but every time I watch this, I'm like, I'm going to listen really hard and see if I would ever guess that it said Zool, like just hearing it.
It sounds like
that.
zoo. I hear the Z and I hear the ooh vowel sound, but that's all I hear. So yeah.
So on Dana's counter, and again, another effect that was just excellent and so memorable, the eggs frying on the counter locked into everybody's memory who's ever seen this. Right next to the eggs was a bag of marshmallows.
Oh yeah.
Stay Puft brand marshmallows. Yeah. No logo on it. I swear, I gotta go back and look, but it didn't have a picture of the guy on it. I swear it just said like Stay Puft in black. What is she doing with those marshmallows?
It is with the groceries we see her bring home.
A single person.
Yeah. She has like 2 heads of lettuce, a dozen eggs, and the biggest bag of marshmallows you've ever seen in your life. Like, I don't know what.
It's not a solo item, really. Most of the time, marshmallow goes with something.
Yeah, you're going to bake with it, which is usually the smaller ones then. Those ones, those are the big ones. They're good for s'mores, right?
Right.
You know,
but she's not s'moring.
No, not.
I mean, you needed to put it in there, but I was a little like, where's the guy on the bag?
It's funny. It's a good point. So after Dana's horrible fridge experience, we cut back to the firehouse that is now the Ghostbusters headquarters. They're putting a sign up on it, kind of a temporary sign. They're putting a sign up, and this old looking ambulance, almost hearse-like, old ambulance, comes driving up, and Venkman's like, you can't park here. This is Ecto-1. This is the car that they're going to have as their like vehicle. And I love when Ray gets out. He's like, okay, I got the car. No big deal. It just needs a little bit of work. And he lists like everything a car could need, down to wiring, which is like, oh, dude, that is a lot of work. And then Venkman asks him how much. He goes, only $4,800. And I'm thinking to myself, if I were to buy that car with that much work necessary today, I'd expect to pay about $4,800.
Yeah.
42 years ago, that'd be like paying $15,000. Like that's crazy. Like,
So it is funny that they have to go along with whatever Ray decides because he's the money guy, even though he's probably the craziest amongst them and the most enthusiastic about this project.
Yes.
But he's going to make weird decisions that don't make sense to them.
He's the truest of the true believers for sure.
The way they have the firehouse set up. So they're sitting there having some Chinese food, and they're talking about like, oh, I need some cash, maybe from Petty Cash. And he's like, well, this lovely feast we have here represents the last of our petty cash. They have arcade games in there.
Yes.
They have the pole. Yeah. They have old confessional booths, I think, that they use as lockers.
That's what it looks like. I think they're just lockers, but they do look like confessional booths. You're not wrong.
All-time man cave, this place. I really like it.
Yeah.
So we get a call.
Yeah. So our first
walk in.
Yeah. So our first thing is we meet Janine Melnitz, right? So played by Annie Potts, and she's like the receptionist or whatever. Venkman makes a comment about her bug eyes and then apologizes for it. But like Dana walks in and is basically like, am I in the right place? Is this the Ghostbusters? And Venkman does, I've always loved this little jump he does. He's got like this little swinging gate, right? Almost like you'd see in a courthouse, right? Where there's like the side with the plaintiff or whatever, and then the other side. And he kind of hops over it and is just like chatting with her. It's like, oh yeah, all day we get this. It's always crazy stuff around here. No problem. And it's like they haven't had anybody come in or talk to them or anything. But they hook her up to some different monitors and sensors, and Egon's asking her questions, and basically, she explains to them what happened. And Egon's comment is sort of like, well, she's telling the truth, or at least she thinks she is. Like, she's not making this up. And basically, Venkman's like, okay, well, I'll go. You guys go check out, look of the name Zool. Try to find, and Egon and Ray are like, yeah, I'll look in the space catalog, Tobin's Spirit Guide. I spent my entire life hoping those things were real, looking for them. They're not real things.
Okay,
they're not real. There's another one they mentioned later too, and none of the publications they talk about are real.
That came up to me in the movie, just thinking, oh, those would be kind of neat books to have, right? If there was some book that talked about all these old evil spirits, I
guess in some sense
there are reference book.
There are references, or there are books like that, right? I mean, basically any book on the mythology of Sumer or Babylonia, right? Babylon, rather, would be kind of in this, basic milieu, right? Because that's kind of, we're talking about an old Sumerian god or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're going to go look for that up, and Peter's going to take Dana back to her apartment and check out Dana's apartment. So they go and, they're walking around the apartment, and, the gist is there's really nothing there, right? There's nothing to find. Venkman doesn't find anything. He's got a little machine he's using to try to take readings. And he
I
doesn't
love how
know.
silly his machine
It's
looks.
so
It's
weird.
just like a little bulb, and he's just
Yeah.
blasting air out in different directions out of this wand.
Really crazy.
It
strange.
seems so fake.
Yeah.
And Dana asks something to him. She's like, "Oh, what is that?" He's like, "It's technical."
It's one of our little toys. Yeah. It's like, are you sure you're using it right? Well, I think I am, but I know there's no ghosts here. Like, so yeah. So he even checks the fridge and basically nothing there, but he hits on her and is kind of like, trying to go and basically tells her, because she's like, no, you can go, dude. Like, I'm not interested, basically. And he tells her, look, I'm going to solve your little problem. You're going to see how good a guy I am, and this is all going to work out. And she's like, okay, fine, you go solve my problem, and kicks him out. And then that is when we get the
hotel call.
the Chinese, the whole Chinese food thing you mentioned, like kind of happens at this point.
Okay.
Because that's when
Yeah.
he says like, oh, we should take her out to dinner and keep our only client, because he wants the company to pay for him to take her out. And that's when Ray tells him, no, we're out of money. Luckily for them, yes, Janine actually gets a call, oh yeah, they'll be totally discreet, like the whole deal. And it's, she slams this like alarm thing and screams, we got one.
Yeah.
Great little montage of them kind of getting ready, going on the pole, getting all their stuff and driving off. And they end up at a place called the Sedgwick Hotel. And they are immediately met by like, a
And the
hotel manager or
discreet
whatever.
entrance, they burst through the doors like, all right, we got some ghosts. Whatever he says, it's just the exact opposite of what they would
Exactly.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, this hotel manager is funny.
He's very funny. He's basically like, oh, the staff knows about the 12th floor and the disturbances, but it's never been this bad. Like, please, take care of this. And they're like, all right, we'll go check it out. And I love there's a scene where they're waiting for the elevator to come up. And of course, they've got, the proton packs are huge. It's big backpacks with these sticks on them and all these wires and cables and things. They've got the whole, they look like exterminators. They got the jumpsuits and everything else and the elbow and knee pads and whatever. And there's this guy standing there at the elevator and he goes, what are you, some kind of cosmonaut? And they go, no, exterminators. Somebody saw a roach up on 12. That's gotta be some cockroach. And they go up and he goes, you coming up? He goes, I'll take the next one.
Yeah.
I just love that. That's gotta be some cockroach.
Yeah, they make mention of, I'm a little uncomfortable. I have an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on my back.
Yes.
And I think they have, Egon says, or whatever, they power one of them up.
Yes.
And the other two guys like scoot, the 5 inches that they have to move to the other side of the elevator.
Just the sound it makes, the
Oh,
kind of hum
man.
it makes, there's just a lot of power happening there. But sure enough, they start walking around the 12th floor and they've got the proton packs. They got the sticks out, whatever, and they hear a noise and they turn and just blast. I think at least Ray and Eon do, and they almost destroy this poor maid who's like trying to replace the toilet paper or whatever in the hotel rooms. Oh my God.
And there's little bits of the toilet paper that are on fire.
Yes.
And it shows her in the background trying to spray it out with the Windex bottle, like just trying to spray Windex on this little fire. It was a nice detail.
Oh my
Ray, when he first, so they're all kind of split up going down the halls and everything. And Ray, I swear they have him smoke just for this effect.
I love it.
Of having the cigarette hanging all the way off of his lip and then slowly dropping. It's really, really good.
He opens it because he sees Slimer, the first kind of ghost we're really encountering since the library. And yeah, he his jaw drops basically. And yeah, the cigarette hangs on his lower lip for way longer than you think it should. I've always known that's something I've always loved too for some reason. There's that. And so he goes to try to shoot Slimer to grab him I guess the idea is the proton packs, right? They're supposed to be like lassos.
It's like a rope. Yeah,
like a rope, right? So it's like a containment kind of thing. He tries, but he misses. They're clearly not particularly easy to aim. You see the way that they wiggle, the little lasers wiggle real bad. So, and this is the other thing I want to say. This, I think, is a really great example of how these effects are still good. Both the effect of the proton pack blast and the effect of Slimer as a free-floating phantasm or whatever they call him, right? They are very cartoonish. But it's okay because they have so much of an effect on the real world around them that it works.
Right.
So Slimer is picking up a real plate of real food and throwing it into his mouth. Right. And when the proton pack shoots the wall, it carves this huge gash in the wall that burns and it's actually on fire. So by only making
they have a realistic effect on the environment, even if they don't look realistic in a vacuum. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why they hold up, because even though they are a bit cartoonish, they yeah, I think it's because they were having such an effect on the real world around them that it's like, we can buy it. There's one effect later in the movie that I don't think still holds up. It's got to do with the little dogs when they start running full
That's
body.
what I wrote down. It's the only thing that doesn't
It's
look
the only thing
good.
that doesn't look good. Everything else is fantastic. And look, I think you're benefited by the fact that they're ghosts. You can make them look like whatever you want. They can be see-through. They can be what, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of leeway. We don't know ahead of time what these are, quote, supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Right? But with the dogs at the end or the demons or whatever, we kind of know what a four-legged animal should look like when it runs, and it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like that's an element. But all these things, they made so many great choices about how much effect these guys would have on the physical sets. And it really pays off, and it really keeps them holding up.
Yeah, watching the stuff fly around and they end up chasing Slimer, or he reappears down in this ballroom.
Yes.
So and this ballroom is all set up for an event that's imminent.
Yes.
I mean, there's the person, the organizer outside, just being like, you know, what's going on? I got to get in there.
Like, yeah.
So to have all these dishes and tables and chandeliers to be able to be destroyed by the proton, like that makes it so
really works.
so good.
Yeah.
This scene is great. You know, they're having some trouble hitting Slimer, and they realize, okay, well, we got to make some space for our trap. And they've already fucked up this room so bad. They're just flipping tables, so you're just hearing dishes break and everything. And then when it seems like they're about done, Venkman says, hold on, I've always wanted to try this. And he tries to do that, pull the tablecloth out from under the dishes thing, and breaks a whole bunch more dishes.
Except the flowers are still standing. I also love there's an element here where Egon is like chasing Slimer with the proton laser thing around the room, and he ends up flying away, and he's still kind of shooting at like the bar area, and you hear kind of behind him Venkman like, oh, nice shooting, Tex. And there's like, I have repeated the words nice shooting, Tex in that way for all kinds of, like my son has probably heard me say that to him 100 times. Like, just, you know, it's like, whoa, like slow down.
Especially if you have a younger kid who tends to like miss the toilet a little bit. That's a nice shooting Tex type situation.
But they are able to get their little, I can't remember what they call it, the little trap, basically, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they roll it in, and they're able to grab Slimer and get him into the trap. The thing is smoking. I always thought they carry them by the wires, which seems like a bad place to carry that thing from. But I wonder if it's getting hot.
You're not supposed to carry anything by the wires.
Not generally. Yeah, the cord, the cable, not a good idea. But it's also not hot because later they hand them to Winston, and he just carries them. So, but anyway.
But the way it looks, you can't tell, is it ultra cold or ultra hot or what's going on with
right?
it.
But basically, they bust out of this thing. They've destroyed this ballroom. This event that's going to happen cannot happen. But they have captured the ghost. So they bust through. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Like, you know, they're super excited. I love this part where Venkman's talking to the manager about the bill. And Egon is signaling him with his hands on his face, like 4 fingers. That'll be $4,000. And then for containment, we're running a special this month. And he kind of taps his nose with one finger for another $1,000. So they're able to like signal like what it should cost or whatever, because they apparently didn't discuss that.
I totally
beforehand.
missed that. Okay, that adds a lot to it. So they were doing kind of like the bribery signaling that we saw in Thief a couple weeks ago.
Same idea.
And he says, you know, $5,000, and the guy's like, $5,000? I won't pay it. You know, and they're like, okay, well, fine. We'll just let this guy go.
We're gonna put him right back where we found him. That's fine. It's like, you're kind of screwed there, buddy. But this then kicks off a pretty big montage sequence.
Great montage.
We start off with some great little TV news elements. There's like newspaper covers and magazine covers, and they're capturing things. We see them at a bunch of different locations. Clearly, there's business is booming, right? This is the idea we're getting. The Ghostbusters business is booming. We even get a great little Casey Kasem cameo here. You know,
yep.
Like you know, the boys in gray dance the night away with the lovely ladies that experience the phenomenon. Now back to the countdown. Like, you know, the whole thing. It's great stuff there. Oh, and then the least kid-friendly part of the entire movie is during this montage.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that this happens, that clearly Ray dreams this rather than claiming this is something that happened to Ray.
Okay.
Because it shows the 3 of them asleep in bed in the hotel. And then we cut to Ray not there, laying in a bed and like seeing a ghost woman, and then she disappears, but his fly opens or whatever, and his eyes roll in the back of his head. So he's getting a ghost blowjob. But then we cut back to the 3 of them laying in the beds that they actually are in, and he just rolls, like falls off his bed like he's dreaming or something.
Oh shit.
So it's a dream, but he's dreaming about getting a blowjob from a ghost in a kid's movie, which isn't great.
He's, I mean, I guess Yeah, I mean, if it's not showing anything,
No, it doesn't show anything. Yeah.
The scene, it is very funny, and it is funny to think of a 27-year-old Dan Aykroyd writing this movie and being like, oh, and then a ghost sucks my dick. Write that down. Write that down.
Harold, put this in there. Put this in there. I want to get a ghost blowjob at some point. Can I get it? No, it's mine. It's gotta be mine.
For me. My idea, my ghost BJ.
I thought of it first. So as the montage sort of ends, we have somebody being interviewed by Janine there in the headquarters. This is Winston Zeddemore, played by Ernie Hudson, and she's asking him, do you believe in it? She lists a ton. I don't remember all, but it's like ESP, astral projection, blah blah, all this kind of different stuff, the Loch Ness monster or whatever. And he goes, if there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say. And they're just they need help. Yeah. So then that's when I think it's Venkman and Ray show up and it's like they're tired and they're clearly been busting ghosts all night and then you're like, this is Winston Zeddemore, he's applying for the job. He goes, great, you're hired, come help me with this thing. Yeah. Like, I love that idea of this being, you're hired on the spot and now get to work.
And I think that it's such a good idea for this movie to have this team of academics, and then you bring in just like a regular working guy to be with them, right. Like it. And he doesn't, split up. There's a lot of stars. There's a lot of shit happening. He doesn't get a ton of screen time. No. He has good lines, though. And I think he adds a very interesting element to the crew. Because otherwise it's just, three nerds or whatever. And then you get someone who's kind of a skeptic, more so than Venkman, a non-believer who has to be a part of it now.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And he just adds a great little element. You're right. He's not in a ton of it. He doesn't have a ton of lines. But he's got some really important ones. And I think, and one of the things that he will do later in the movie is kind of ground the experience that the Ghostbusters are having with people who don't understand it the way that he doesn't understand it. So all the kind of lay people who just, or whatever, they're going to get it, right? Yep. Because of him talking about it. So Winston is hired. There are now 4 Ghostbusters. We cut quickly to outside the symphony hall where Dana does her works basically and is in her orchestra. She's walking out with an orchestra mate of hers, and who's out there waiting but Peter Venkman. All he really has to tell her is that they found the name Zool, and he explains, this was Zool was the minion of Gozer, which is this, god of Sumer. He says Sumeria. I think Sumer is actually what you called that civilization. But basically just like, what was he doing in my fridge? I don't know. I'm still going to figure this out. But they make a date basically for Thursday night. And it's okay. I'll see you Thursday, whatever. And then, he's pretty happy. But she goes off and we cut then back to the headquarters, and everybody's least favorite person in the entire movie shows up for the first time. This is Walter Peck. Played by William Atherton, who we've seen already in a couple other movies. I think at least one other. He was Thornburg in Die Hard, the shithead journalist. He was also the shithead EPA guy in this movie. Not sure that I love vilifying the Environmental Protection Agency necessarily, but he's a piece of shit. So.
I think the same thing. But you always need a boogeyman, and it always has to be over-regulation. Like, if there was a movie about how it turned out the EPA was right, it would have to take place over like a 50-year timeline. To be like, see, this thing didn't deteriorate because we saved. But it's a little cheesy, but big bureaucracy. Everyone hates red tape, don't they?
I mean, I think if you're going to have some kind of like government entity being the thing that really sticks in their craw, the EPA makes sense, right? Because he comes and he talks about like toxic chemicals and hallucinations, like all this kind of stuff. So it works,
Totally. And I will also say, and we know this is an incredible like power draw and stuff. If there was something happening next door to me where they're like, they're storing ghosts and they have these nuclear reactors and stuff, I'd be on Team Peck, at least fair, initially.
100%. But he is an asshole. And so he goes and he talks to Venkman. One of the things I don't like about this, and I kind of wish Venkman had said something about this, because he introduces himself. He asks, what do you do, Mr. Venkman? We go, it's Dr. Venkman. Oh, what are you a doctor of? Or whatever. And he goes, I have PhDs in parapsychology and psychology. And Peck, for the rest of the conversation, refers to him as Mr. Venkman. And as a husband of a doctor, let me tell you, they don't like that very much. My wife is not Mrs. Paulo. She's Dr. Paulo, because that's what she fucking earned. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's very disrespectful to continue to refer to him as Mr. Venkman. And it's one of the earliest signs that this guy's a piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not good. But he basically is saying.
But it is fun to like misdoctor a doctor to piss them off.
Well, it's effective.
So it is fun to do.
It is very effective. But that's kind of why I almost wish Peter had like recognized it and like said something about it, but he
Yeah.
doesn't even clock it, or if he clocks it, it doesn't bother him, which maybe that's more the Venkman way, is just to not be bothered by it, you know? But it's always something where I'm sitting there watching him every time he says Mr. Venkman, that's Dr. Venkman, that's Dr. Venkman. But basically he says, come back with a court order. Like, you're not going to see anything. We're not going to show you anything. We're not going to take you anywhere. You get a court order and I'll sue your ass for wrongful prosecution. Not really how that works, Dr. Venkman, but that's okay.
There's a lot of like in the 80s, a lot of good, like, I'll sue your ass for, as if it's just some easy process where you just show up to the court and say, hey, I'm suing this guy.
Yeah, right.
No cash layout involved beforehand.
Lawyers' fees, retainers, and all that.
So we see that these gargoyles that are on the roof of Dana and Lewis's building, or these, you know, dog creatures, whatever we want to call them.
They look more like gargoyles when they're stone.
Yeah.
They look more like some kind of
It's an easy
dog.
time to call it a gargoyles when
exactly.
it's is being one. But the statue starts to crack and we see some things like emerging from it, you know, so the arm busts out and the eyeball busts out.
Glowing red eye, like
really creepy.
Yes.
Lewis is having his party as Dana's coming home.
Right.
And he's trying to tell her, hey, Dana, you want to come into my party? Yeah. You know, I got a lot of people. I invited clients instead of friends. That way it's a big tax write-off. And the other recurring theme is Lewis gets locked out of his apartment every time he comes out into the hall. It's like the lock of horniness. It's like, you got too horny and this lock has punished you. But yeah, so Dana, you know, maybe later she walks by because that's the night she's supposed to meet Venkman.
Right. And so she says, I have a date. And he goes, you made a date on the night of my party? And she's like, I'm sorry, I forgot. Like, he's like, okay, you can bring him too. And then I love he goes, we're going to play some Twister, do some breakdancing.
Yeah.
But she goes in and she gets phone rings. It's a call from her mom. So she's like sitting on a little easy chair in her kind of living room. She's talking to her mom, telling her she's got a date tonight. Yes, to go with the Ghostbuster. Yes, those guys from TV, like the whole deal. When she hangs up, we see from the side of her, like where her kitchen is, it's glowing big time. The door is like glowing. And it's like, you know, she kind of notices, and then the whole chair turns, and like the kind of demon dog looking hand things all come out and like grab her arm, grab her.
All the variety of animal limbs come out. That is really a creepy thing.
One covers her mouth to keep her from screaming, and then basically the door opens, and it's one of these demon dog gargoyles there. I probably should just call them gargoyles. I was always called them demon dogs as a kid, but like this gargoyle's there, and it, you know, the chair flies towards it, and we cut away from her.
Yeah,
right. But it's like something bad has happened to Dana. That's obvious. And so then we cut over to the party, to Lewis's party, and he's chatting with people. Like he's talking about how it's a write-off. And,
yeah, smoked salmon. Yeah. It's $17.99 a pound, but it only cost me $11.99 a pound after the tax write-off.
Right. It's like so.
It's such a short part, but it's very memorable for me.
Well,
his going through there. Oh, one other thing I just want to point out is visually, this movie is very vibrant and bright. I really like the colors of it. Like, it looks very good.
Yeah,
you know, it's old, but it doesn't look shitty in an old way. It's just like, man, there was thought put into all these scenes. Like there's a lot of attention to that. So I like that. Lewis's outfits are
amazing.
Just
he's got
fantastic.
the little cravat, the little like whatever neck dicky thing he's got on is hilarious. One thing I wanted to ask you as an accountant, as a CPA yourself, my friend, when his clients Ted and Annette show up, right, and he's introducing them around to the party, and he's going into detail about having like a carpet cleaner company in receivership, and she's drawing a delayed pension or something, whatever. So, and they only own $15,000 on their house. So they're okay. I'm like, nobody, you can't. Like,
no,
it's
never,
like
never.
It's like a client privilege thing, right? Like,
when I saw that, I was like, Lewis, everyone should fire you now.
Right, exactly.
Especially,
like nobody's going to still have him as their accountant.
It would be one thing to just say, hey, they have this company. This is what they do for work. But to be like,
fine.
Okay, they have this building that's underwater and they have liens against their property. And
yeah, it was pretty wild. I was like, that is like way too much detail.
Totally. Really funny, though, how enthusiastic he is about the financial details of everybody's life.
It is true.
Like that's what's significant about them.
Right.
It's their balance sheet.
Yeah. Well, because it's what matters to him, I guess, the most. Yeah. So he takes their coats and he kind of tosses them into the bedrooms, or the bed, you know, just the coats. And of course there's a gargoyle in there and the coats kind of land. I'm kind of funny. And actually these are one of the better looking gargoyles. When they're stationary and they're puppets, they look fantastic.
Yeah.
Good rubber puppets. They look great. They move good. The whole deal. The puppetry is fantastic. So he tosses it in and then it growls after he closes. And Lovey goes, okay, who brought the dog? And it busts out. And this is where the effects aren't as good, right? When it's busting through the doors and whatever.
Yeah, anytime it's moving.
It's looking a little dated.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It basically chases him out of the apartment. And, he goes down the elevator and everything else. And then he gets out, and I love it. He's running out the door of his apartment building across the street to Central Park. And he's just screaming almost incoherently. But the doorman is like standing there, and somebody walks in. What do you say? He's like, something about somebody brought a bear to a party or something like that. And then the gargoyle runs past them and like knocks the guy over, and it's chasing Lewis down. And it's really great. And then
Can other people see it?
I was wondering about that too, because he gets to this. Okay, first of all, in the party, definitely, right? People reacted.
Yeah.
In his apartment, people reacted to this thing for sure. But then it knocks over the doorman. So
Right.
I guess if they're invisible, but they're blowing open the door, maybe people just reacted to that, and maybe the doorman got knocked over and didn't know by what. Because Lewis runs to a restaurant,
Yep.
big windows in the middle of Central Park. I
Very
guess, right?
trading places, like
Yes.
outside the restaurant, a guy named Louis,
That's a good point. Yeah. And so he, runs up to this, and it's basically like, hey, let me in, trying to get into this place. And a bunch of people see him, they look at him, and then he turns around and kind of slides down the window as he like falls to the ground, and the dog, the gargoyle, whatever, is there and like attacks him. And everybody in that restaurant is looking, like the music's not playing.
Yeah.
And then he kind of goes out of sight, and they just go back to their food. So clearly they didn't see anything.
Right.
They couldn't have seen the gargoyle and not reacted at all. So I'm not sure exactly. Yeah. As far as the canon lore of like, are these things visible to like everyone?
Like, would Peter
don't know.
Venkman have been able to see it?
Because they definitely see them
fridge?
later.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah.
Hey, if you're a ghost, hit up the show at twodads1movie.com.
Exactly. Oh man. So then we get Venkman shows up at Dana's, right? And she answers the door, and she's got this ridiculous outfit on. I don't know where this chiffon and sort of silk dress came from, but whatever. And she answers the door, and he's kind of like, whoa. And she's like, are you the key master? And he's like, no. So she shuts the door. So he knocks again. Are you the key master? And he's like, yes. And he walks in. He's a friend of mine. He said I should come for, he'll be here later or whatever. And so basically she introduces herself as Zool, the gatekeeper. And this was one of those jokes. I got to be honest. So I love the keymaster gatekeeper thing. I probably understood this joke younger than I should have. Like, I feel like the whole, the man has the key and the woman has the lock kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I knew like at like 9 or something. I'm like, oh, that's a sex thing, I think. Like, not that I understood the details, but like that kind of clicked or whatever. And I feel like it's a pretty risque kind of joke for kids. Like, Again, it's not a kid's movie per se, but it's obviously a movie that many, many kids would see because it's PG. But like, I always kind of thought that was funny that like that. I don't know. Like that always tickled me, the whole keymaster gatekeeper thing. It's like so on the nose. I find it funny.
But and you have to be like, as a kid, it probably goes over your head
for the most part,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, but
Anyway. Yeah. So he's like trying to get through to her.
Yeah.
He's like, is Dana in there? And she says, there is no Dana, only Zool. A couple times she repeats it back. Great line. We've definitely repeated that one.
I was going to say, I can do it. If we
absolutely, folks. Here's your treat.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Fuck yeah. Steve
We've been
Paul,
doing that a
ladies
while.
and gentlemen. That's good.
Yeah.
But her freak out, and she's laying down on the bed and she starts floating over the bed. First, she's trying to kind of seduce Venkman and being very like handsy with him, and she's breathing really heavy and starts floating up in the bed. Cool scene. I mean, pretty cool looking effect.
Another cool effect. Again, like not super obvious wires. She actually turns over while she's raised up. So like, it's not a simple wire effect. There's obviously something else going on there. Maybe some kind of an old blue screen or something. I don't know exactly, but it works. It really holds up. And it's not like Hosehead and Strange Brew where it's clearly sitting on something, because like the way her clothing moves is more natural than if she were like on a platform on a blue screen. So very cool effect.
That extra $26 million in budget will do it for you.
It does make a big difference. So after that little event, and now Venkman obviously understands this is a huge problem. Dana's been possessed essentially. He even says something about I have a rule not to get involved with possessed people.
Oh, she
right?
says, this is another good risque joke. She says, I want you inside me. And he's like, maybe later. It sounds like it's pretty full in there right now.
Exactly. You've got at least 2 people in there right now. So then we cut back to Central Park, and running out of Central Park is our buddy Louis Tully, who introduces himself as Vince Clortho to a horse, I believe is who he first introduces himself to. But he is the keymaster. So this is the whole, like, just to kind of sum it up, right? The 2 gargoyles come to life and then possess a woman and a man to be the new embodiments of Zool and Vince Clortho, the minions of Gozer, essentially. Not sure why Vince gets a last name and Zool doesn't, but hey, it is what it is.
It's kind of like a Prince thing. Your name's just Zool. I do love Vince talking to this horse, and then the driver of the carriage is like, "Hey, if you want to ride, you got to talk to me." And then he gives him like the Teen Wolf keg of beer eyes, like the glowing red, like, and scares him and runs off.
Yeah, exactly.
God, Vince Clortho.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting picked up by the cops somewhere, and they bring him to the Ghostbusters because they're like, I don't know.
Janine's line when she answers the door to the cops is one of the funniest lines to me in the movie, when she sees it's a cop and kind of looks him up and down and goes, dropping off or picking up, and he goes, dropping off. Okay, but it's like she knows, you know what I mean? I just love that line so much. Like, are you here to arrest somebody, or are you bringing us somebody? Dropping off or picking up? Dropping off. So they basically, they bring him in, and this is interesting too because they put the same little sensors they put on Dana when she first came, to the headquarters to talk to them about her fridge and stuff, and we saw the sort of outline of her head in this monitor, the screen, and it looked like her, like it looked exactly like her. Now Vince Clortho is hooked up, Louis is, with these little sensors, and on that screen it's shaped like the gargoyle. It's actually not his head. It's the horns and the gargoyle. I did not notice. Yeah, it's shaped like the gargoyle, and that's what Egon kind of notices. And he's basically like, okay, well, this is just crazy. And Vince has given him all kinds of crazy stuff about the coming of the Voldari or something, and in the third reparation of the this. I mean, it's like I don't know any of it, but it's so incredible.
You know who did know it, and I'm going to shout out our friend Todd Toffoli, who we went to school with. Good guy. Did an excellent impression of that back then, and I bet he'd still bust it out today. So Todd did a hell of a Clortho back in.
There is a line about many somethings knew what it's like to be roasted in the belly of the slore that day, I can tell you.
Yeah.
That's a good part of it. But basically, Venkman calls at this point.
Yeah.
And Egon's like, where are you? What's going on? He goes, well, I just met Zool. I just met the gatekeeper. And he goes, oh, I've got the keymaster. He's like, we got to get these two together. And he goes, that would be extraordinarily bad. But one thing that I want to say about this is that Venkman, so Dana's basically asleep on her bed now, right?
Yeah.
And Venkman tells Egon that he shot her up with 300 cc's of Thorazine. So now we have to understand that Peter Venkman went on a date with 300 cc's of Thorazine and a syringe in his pocket. Why did he have that with him?
Part of my everyday carry. I got a pack of Tic Tacs. I got my Thorazine.
Yeah. Also, he's not a medical doctor. So where's he getting the Thorazine? Like, this is wild that he just has Thorazine on him.
You know what? That is definitely a Mr. Venkman style move.
That's a Mr. Venkman move, yeah.
So Mr. Walter Peck is back.
Oh, God, yes.
He's back at the Ghostbusters station with the cops and someone from the utility company
Con Ed,
saying, hey, I'm here to shut this down. Here, yes. I have an envelope, and I assure you that inside this is a piece of paper that allows me to do this.
Yes, a court order, as Venkman told him, come back with a court order, So they go down to the basement, and basically he's saying, shut all this off, shut all these off. And Egon's like, that would be like a bomb. Like, you can't do it. It'll be like a bomb dropping on the city. And they argue back and forth, and Venkman comes back because he's back from Dana's. And he, is like, hey, I'd love to cooperate, whatever. And, Peck's like, you had your chance, this is it kind of thing. And they shut it off, and the whole thing, the alarms start going. Oh my God, it's crazy. And we get another kind of quick montage of, what's happening around the city, right? So the roof of their firehouse explodes, and this huge light column comes flying out. Again, this is another element where I think all these effects hold up really great because they're kind of meant to be.
It's just like a transparency of something that you can film.
Exactly.
Like really smart to do it that way.
We get ghosts popping out of subway stations. We get Slimer in a hot dog cart. We get like all kinds of crazy people. Just, there's like a really cool looking puppet of like a still fleshy skeleton driving a cab. Like, there's all kinds of great little elements. And then
who immediately crashes the cab.
Exactly right. So we get back to the thing, and now of course there's now hydrants have gone off, and there's water flying everywhere. So everybody's kind of soaking wet too, which is kind of an interesting thing. But like, basically Peck is like, arrest these men, they did this, like whatever, to like the cops. And I love it. It's like, will you shut up? And Egon, the one time Egon gets pissed is he goes like this was your fault. And he goes, your mother, and like attacks Peck. And Harold Ramis yelling, your mother, is so funny.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Now our heroes end up in jail.
They are in jail, yes.
They're getting a good amount of respect in jail. I wonder if the prisoners recognize them as the Ghostbusters.
These guys
they've been on
famous.
The cover of The Atlantic, according to the montage.
Well, but also like what a USA Today, and like, these guys are famous, certainly within New York. at this time, right? These guys are pretty well known. So it's not surprising.
Don
Plus,
Mattingly and the Ghostbusters. That was it.
There you go. Keith Hernandez, a little later. But no, so they've got this blueprint, though. I'm not sure why they're allowed to bring their blueprint into the holding cell, but they have a blueprint of Dana and Lewis's building.
Yeah.
And so Egon's kind of talking them through like why this is weird. Egon and Ray are kind of talking about why this is so strange. And I love there's a point where, so they mention this guy, Ivo Shandor, who, was basically was like this cultist who was the architect of the building and all this stuff. And after World War I, he decided that humanity was too sick to survive. And so he started like doing all these like rituals on the roof to try to bring about the end of the world. There's a very funny line where Winston's talking to Egon and he says something like, so you telling me that I'm going to go in front of a federal judge and explain that a moldy Babylonian god is the reason all this happened? And he goes, Sumerian, not Babylonian. And I love that that's the correction that he makes. It's Sumerian, not Babylonian. But now the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper have found each other. And so they connect and we can only assume that that's bad, but they basically walk together up to the roof through Dana's corner penthouse, apparently the cellist with the corner penthouse. But
seriously, I want a financial analysis on a lot of this stuff.
Some forensic accounting here.
but good for Moranis to like be willing to stay in character and be with somebody who's so much less attractive than him, for the sake of the film. Real
struggle. The struggle is real for guys like Moranis having to be with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Our boys are back in the mayor's office.
Yes, they've been taking. The mayor wants to see them because the whole island's going crazy. We're told. Right?
One of the best scenes in the film here.
Absolutely. We get there and it's a bunch of people. You got the fire chief, you got the police chief, you got the mayor, you got all these people are here. And then the Ghostbusters are brought in and Walter Peck is there. And he's basically telling them how everything, it's like these guys this is all fake, basically. Peck's argument is these guys use noxious chemicals and toxins and gases to like make people hallucinate that they're seeing things. And then they put on a light show and they claim they fixed the problem. They charge them thousands of dollars. That's his claim, right? And somebody points out, well, the walls of the 3rd precinct are bleeding. How do you explain that, right? Kind of thing. And then one of my favorite moments in this is when the cardinal shows up, right? So this is like the cardinal of the Diocese of New York City comes in and, the mayor's like, oh, your eminence. He goes, hi, Lenny, how you doing? And he goes, I'm in a real pickle, Mike. And he kind of slaps his cheek. And I've always loved the familiarity, like moment of like, I'm in a real pickle, Mike. Like, I don't know what to do here. And he tells him like, the church is not going to take sides on this. We're not going to make an official statement.
We're an official no comment on
this. Exactly. But like, dude, do something about it.
Yeah.
And then that's when Winston steps up and says, look, Mayor, I know you don't believe any of this stuff, but like I didn't believe any of this when I started. And I love his line. He goes, since I started here a few weeks ago, I've seen shit that'll turn you white.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of goes, oh, that's a weird way to put that.
I love that.
But yeah, great lines from Venkman and Stantz and Egon talking about, what is happening. These are biblical, sort of ramifications, right?
Yeah.
And Peck is like, you're not going to really believe these guys, are you? Like,
but they say, none of this wouldn't have happened if Dickless here didn't shut the power off. And then he says they caused an explosion, and the judge or the mayor looks at Venkman. He's like, "Is this true?" He goes, "It's true. This man has no dick." Just
great line,
perfect,
great line.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, but so basically, the mayor sides with the Ghostbusters after Venkman reminds him, hey, if I'm wrong about all this, we'll go to jail. We'll enjoy it, whatever. But if I'm right, Lenny, you will have saved the lives of millions of registered voters. at which point they dismiss Mr. Peck and they decide to let the Ghostbusters save the day.
And then we get another montage here. Is the song called "Saving the Day"?
It must be. It's a great song.
Yeah, not bad.
Saving the day.
So yeah, I like that, getting suited up and everything.
Yeah.
They have to take the stairs up to the roof of Dana's building, which just looks like the most impossibly endless staircase. It's shot from underneath in one of those classic square stairwells.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was almost surprised. I thought 22 is like 22. This 22nd floor is where they're going to.
Yeah.
And for some reason I thought like seems like the building would be bigger than that. But then I mean, 22, that's a tall ass building. So, and you can see from when they're on the roof, you're looking out across like the park to like further downtown in New York. And there's far taller buildings.
Stuff, yeah.
So it's not like it's the biggest building in town or anything. So But yeah, they have to haul ass, and they're again carrying their unlicensed nuclear accelerators on their backs, all the way up 22 flights of stairs. That's pretty insane. I love it too. It's like, where are we? Somewhere in the low teens. Tell me when we get to 20. I'm going to throw up. But yeah, so they find their way up the stairs and they find Dana and Louis on the roof. But as they are watching, the two of them morph into these gargoyles again and are taking position within this sort of like temple thing. There's like the laser like hits the two of them as they're turning into the dogs and it opens up this door. And it wasn't obvious that it was a door. It looked like just kind of like some kind of motif, like some kind of al fresco or something, whatever. But it opens and then just like in Dana's fridge, there's this wide space and then this pyramid and whatever over there. And the boys look at it and then there's this really strange looking woman. She's got short hair, red eyes, dressed in like this kind of gossamer fabric or something, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's kind of like an evil Pat Benatar or something.
A little bit.
Like that.
Something. Yeah. She looks very new wave, very kind of, like very
Ziggy
music of the time.
Stardust, yeah.
Oh, that's actually, yes. That's kind of without the star, on the eye.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like a brunette Ziggy Stardust for sure. But they're kind of like, what do we do? And so it's like, oh, Ray, you can try, right? And he says something about like, as a duly appointed representative of the city, county, and state of New York, I request that you go back to where you came from or the nearest parallel dimension. Like he's trying to be all like, whatever. And this is a great line. This is Gozer. They realize Gozer asking, are you a god? And he kind of goes, no. Then die, right? Like very Emperor Palpatine laser fingers kind of thing, knocks him down, at which point after they've recovered a bit, Winston goes, Ray, when somebody asks if you're a god, you say yes. It's so good. Oh, man.
So they're lined up now with their proton packs and they're trying to get her. And she's too nimble. She's jumping out of the way. Yep. They can't get her.
Bruce Lee.
And she, Gozer says something like, it's up to you to choose the form of the destructor.
Yes, choose the form. The destructor has arrived. Choose the form of your destruction. And they realize, Peter kind of quickly realizes, whoa, okay, so whatever we think of, that's what. So if we think of J. Edgar Hoover will come and destroy. So let's close your minds. Don't think about anything. We only got one shot at this. And as he's saying that, we hear Gozer's voice again. A choice is made, or whatever. It's like, whoa, no, we didn't choose anything. But Ray is looking rather sheepish. He's like, and he goes, I thought of something, wholesome and safe that could never hurt us, and thought back to camping as a kid and making s'mores with Stay Puft marshmallows. And that's when they realize, they look down, Fifth Avenue or whatever it is. And there is a 100-foot tall Stay Puft marshmallow man walking down the street. Oh my God.
And I think, is this where Venkman says, mother puss bucket?
Yes. Mother puss bucket. Like
I gotta say, I would rather be called a fucker than a puss bucket.
It's pretty gross.
1,000 times.
Yeah. It's this was clearly, I feel like PG-13 was not available to them. Yeah. And that if they left motherfucker, because it's clear that should have been motherfucker. Sure. That would have been an R. And they're like, no, it'll kill our, they got to have that 4-quadrant, make a lot of money kind of thing going on. So we can't be an R. So that's what they changed it to mother puss bucket.
A good way to like make it still sound bad and not be a swear.
That's absolutely true.
So they kind of realize with this marshmallow man that they can't do too much to him.
They shoot at it.
I mean, it's not doing much.
It doesn't even slow them down. Like the guy keeps walking toward they're hitting with the 4 streams or whatever, and they're not even really slow. It lights on fire, but doesn't seem to stop him at all. Mm-hmm. So they have to jump out of the fire. And this is when Egon goes, there is one choice. We could cross the streams. And they was like, well, what would that do? Cross the streams? Like, well, we would like reverse the protons back through the gateway. I mean, again, there's another sort of like explanation of like weird stuff. But he's like, Lovey goes, there is definitely a very real small possibility that we could survive. It's like, okay. But yeah, sure enough, they kind of press their little, they kind of aim their, whatever, I don't know, call the streams, whatever they are, towards each other at the temple back through the gateway, right? Like, so because it does seem like, there's.
So they're trying to reverse the effect of this, like letting things in from that dimension. It's trying to,
push it back, I guess,
blow it up,
the idea.
Push everything back. Yeah.
So it definitely, they do that. And sure enough, man, it makes the whole thing explode. The marshmallow man has now reached the roof, right? It's climbing over, but he then is caught up in the explosion and it destroys him as well. And everything is covered. I mean, this marshmallow is falling down on the people on the street below.
Yeah.
and all this
Winston
stuff.
was right about something turning you white.
Yeah,
like he was literally turned white along with the other guys who were covered in marshmallow fluff.
That's funny. It's actually funny. They're not all covered in marshmallow. For whatever reason, Venkman is like almost
He's pretty
unscathed.
free, yeah. Well, because they know he has to like reconcile with Dana
That's
at the
right,
end,
yeah.
so you can't get stuff all over.
She has to recognize him right away. Right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't want him covered in stuff. Who's this? Like,
And is it him or Egon says, I feel like the floor of a taxi cab when they're
It's
out of
Egon,
there. Yeah, so great explosion. For how much I remember the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, I would have thought he had 18 solid minutes of screen time.
No,
but
it's like
it's
3.
very brief.
Very quick.
And later in the cartoons, a lot of these things became a bigger deal, like Slimer and the Marshmallow Man.
I mean, Slimer became like their little pet.
Yeah, he was
right?
like their Orko, or that guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Man.
Yep. But that's pretty much it. After this is just sort of celebrating. And Winston, this is something that I've always thought in my head, whenever I'm somewhere that I'm having a good time or I see something that reminds me, especially of liking the place where I live, I think to myself, I love this town, the way he says it. And that's
his reaction is really good. So they get Dana and Louis out of these gargoyles.
Yeah.
So they, who are
fine.
you guys?
They're fine. Yeah.
Or Louis is like, who are you guys? We're the Ghostbusters. Who does your taxes? I think that might be the actual last line in the movie.
It could be actually, because the rest of it's sort of celebrating and the song playing and like whatever.
And a great a movie just ending when it ends. Like in the moment it ends, it doesn't flash to 1 month later. It's just like we're still covered in the shit and we're celebrating on the streets with these people who just saw the craziest thing happen of all time, and we're just getting down.
No epilogue at all.
Very, very, very fun.
That is Ghostbusters, man. That is such a fun movie. Oh man. Okay. Well, this was my pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my breakdown first. And this was one of those movies that, like I said at the beginning, for a significant period of my life, this was, quote, my favorite movie of all time. And it's not there anymore. It doesn't currently hold that, title for me, but for a long time it was. And it's still something that just, at a time in my life, I could have recited this movie beginning to end without any prompting. I even thought to myself, I could do this episode with you this week without having watched it. I could have, but then I thought to myself, why would I not take the opportunity to watch it though? I have a good reason to watch it. Let's watch
a new feature that we have though. It's just one guy raw dogs the movie and doesn't watch it.
We're too old to use raw dog that way.
That's true. It's the only way we can use it.
That's fair. No, but so I love this movie, and it held up. Like one of the main things for me is that it all held up. There's nothing in it. Couple of special effects that don't quite look as good as they did before, but most of the effects in this movie are fantastic.
Yep.
Still hold up, still look great. Like 99% of these effects are fantastic. The humor is great. There's nothing really objectionable in any of the jokes or the way that they like formed any of the laughs. This is a really, really great movie, and I have nothing to say about it. No notes to give to Ghostbusters. I am a 5 out of 5. Easiest 5 I've given this entire time.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, again, holds up very well. I don't care about the effects that don't work. And, I like it a lot better that they didn't do a remaster where they like made the dog thing look good. Because I like things to be a snapshot of a point in time, but then, being a snapshot of a point in time, a lot of times we have very problematic humor and everything. And there were plenty of opportunities for this movie to take a swing at that kind of stuff, and they did not do it. There's not a single reference to the fact really that Winston is black other than his like this'll turn you white thing or what
funny, but
there were opportunities for cheap jokes that were not taken. And I think overall that makes this movie hold up so well because the characters are very memorable. All the action of it, I really do love this. And it spawned a whole ton of other shit, some of which was good and some of which shouldn't have, but who cares? It's not those movies' fault, You can't blame this movie for them. But this was like just shy because there was a couple parts of it. And like I said, I don't have quite the nostalgia of this movie, but this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I love this. Definitely watch it. Definitely watch it with your kids. It holds up. Ghost blowjob aside, this movie is a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was fantastic.
That's awesome. So 9.5 out of 10 from the two dads on Ghostbusters. Absolutely well earned. That's a score I'm happy with for sure. And we're going to continue our march through Two Dads, Two Decades with 1985. And Nick, your pick for us for 85. What are we watching next week?
Yeah. So for 1985, we're going to change pace a little. We've had a couple comedies in a row, and this movie coming up is, I don't know. I mean, there's parts of it that are comedic, but it's more just like a drama, like a high school age drama. We're going to see some people that we haven't seen yet, that were young actors at the time, a great ensemble cast. This is a very, very popular, well-known movie. So we'll have to dig deep and find some interesting things to say about it. But we're going to go to 1985, and we're spending the day in Saturday school. And we're gonna hang out with the Breakfast Club.
Love it. That's fantastic. Yes, fun. John Hughes. We've seen some John Hughes stuff already. Such an important filmmaker for the era. We've seen Paul Gleason already as, the principal here, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot of these actors, really important. Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy, even Judd, whatever his name is.
Judd Nelson.
Thank you, Judd Nelson. But I don't think we've seen any of them yet.
No, I don't think so.
Which is a shame, actually. But hey, this is gonna be great. Cool. So 1985, next week, The Breakfast Club. I love that pick. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
That's a wrap. So if you like what you hear, please consider heading over to Apple or Spotify and leaving us a 5-star review. It helps new folks find the show. Be sure to check out our website at twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2 and the number 1. There you can explore the movies we've covered, sign up for our newsletter, The Rewind, and even get sneak previews of upcoming episodes. We'd also love it if you followed us on Instagram at 2dads1movie. Once again, this has been Ghostbusters, another episode of 2 Dads, 1 Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, everyone.